we're actually in the deep pan sessions, which is why I've got the deep pan pizza here. Right, so let's just go through this. So very quickly about me. I'm the CTO and founder of Soho Dragon. We're a New York-based Microsoft partner. I've co-written 4 SharePoint books, right for Forbes. I'm also the co-organizer of SharePoint Saturday New York meetup. My first version of SharePoint was SharePoint Portal 2003. I'm based in New York, very old school, like projects on time and on budget. I enjoy yoga, vegetarian cooking food, and I'm a Microsoft MVP. Introductions, we've done a little bit of this. Is there any, just out of interest, okay, David, you've been a veteran contractor. So is there, who is actually these contractors? Do you just want to go into the chat and say, I'm a contractor? Anyone want to do that? Carlos, good. Okay, you're a contractor. Okay, or I suppose just raise your hand, that would help. Okay, full functionality of Teams. Okay, very cool. Is there anyone who's thinking of going contracting in the near future? I'm assuming your boss is not on the call as well. Right, okay, that was a no. All right, okay. Right, okay, so basically what makes me qualified to speak at this session? All right, what makes me qualified is I've actually been a contractor, and I've done that for 3 or 4 years, okay, and I've done that on off, and I actually founded Soho Dragon. So I actually now hire contractors. So I've actually been on both sides of the table doing the contracting and hiring the contractors. So I know that, I like to think I know what makes good contractors, not so good contractors, but I sort of know how the process works, and I've seen it like from multiple angles. This is what the agenda is going to be. It's like, firstly, figure out what you want to do. Okay, how to market yourself, what skills you need, and it's actually not what you think. Getting the jobs, recruiters, rate negotiation, how to get around the recruiter, being great, how to build a client base, how to juggle multiple projects, and where to find the SharePoint, and the Office 365 gigs on that. That's really what I'm going to be talking about. So before we begin, I just want to thank everybody for attending my session. Not a small thank you, but a big thank you. It's Friday, you're at work and you're taking time out of this. So there are going to be Q&As. Feel free to interrupt me, which is why I've taken people off mute. Okay, and then follow up with me on LinkedIn as well. Okay, conversational style. Like I said, interrupt me. I don't want to be just speaking to a screen. Okay, anything which your green dot indicates something really important. Okay. Now, before we actually continue, this is Soho Dragon. This entire conversation is really about everything in 2011 of when I went contracting. It's got, in terms of Soho, we're doing about 8 million. We've got 3 offices. We've got over 100 employees. We're a multi-million-dollar business. Now, we are not talking about that growth path here. Okay, it's everything related to the contractor of you working out of your spare office. Okay, this whole path and this journey, that's like another workshop, if a session, and maybe 2 books. Okay, takeaways are, I'm not actually telling you anything that you don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm really giving you a lot of tips. But it's like a lot of things, like losing weight. Like everyone knows how to lose weight, but that doesn't mean you actually lose weight. Okay, and really the rest is really up to you in terms of the action points. Okay, so the first thing is to figure out what you want. Okay, so there's nothing wrong in doing this. Like some people, they go contracting and they're basically quintessential professional contractors. Nothing wrong with that. I think, David, that's what you said. You basically are a quintessential professional contractor.
Yeah, actually, when I'm an employee, I'm just kind of miserable. I feel like a caged tiger,
right?
Or that I'm not accomplishing my goal in life or my mission in life.
So you work for the government?
No, I have, yes.
Right. Okay. Or some people basically do like a stopgap, in terms of they've gone out of work. The recruiters called them up or whatever, and they're doing like a 6-month gig, and they're a contractor, and then it's not 6 months, it's 12 months. Or some people actually want to build a company. Okay, they go contracting, they want to start off and they say, right, this is what I want to build a company. And that's exactly what I did with Soho. Soho Dragon, I didn't want to just be a quintessential contractor. I actually wanted to build that up. So the reason why I'm telling you this is that some people are professional contractors, but they seem to behave like they're trying to build a company, which is crazy, or some people just say, look, I'm going contracting. It's a stopgap job. It's for 6 months. Nothing wrong with that. But basically, you don't need to have fancy offices. You don't need to have business cards if you're just doing it for 6 months. And again, if you're trying to build a company, you need to scale and put structures in place of how to actually work beyond you, because you've only got one pair of hands. And that's all three of these bullet points require different skills. So questions like how to market yourself. You're that contractor. So do's. Okay, market yourself as you. The mistake that I see people do is that they sort of like, basically they're Joe Smith, SharePoint extraordinaire, but they actually advertise themselves as Gotham consultants. And they have a website which sort of like they paid someone $200 to do a WordPress website, but it's really them. Okay, everyone can see through that. Okay, it's actually very inauthentic as well, and because you can't like presenting all, we are the best, we are the greatest, we only hire the talent, but the reality is it's just you. Everybody knows that. Okay, and it can't like, if you're going to have a message, it needs to be an authentic message. Like if I saw a website of a hospital, and and I actually went to the hospital and realized, wait a minute here, the pictures of this hospital and this hospital is not what's on the website, I would feel a little bit misled on that. And that's exactly the same as that. So if there's nothing wrong in having your URL as let's say joesmith.com, or joesmithsharepoint.com, okay, and just having these are my gigs, this is who I am, this is how I work, because people will very quickly realize that. And there's also a lot of work out there where people don't want to deal with these big consulting firms with account managers, vendor onboarding. I've got a lot of small gigs, projects. I can give it to you very quickly and you can get it done. Okay, you've only got 40 hours in a week and you've only got one pair of hands. If you've got like 4 or 5 clients, you can earn a very nice income shuffling around those clients, and you're not dealing with the corporate politics. And you can make, and you actually have job security because you've got 4 clients to shuffle around. And remember, you have no marketing costs whatsoever. Okay, join and participate in LinkedIn groups. People look at this a lot. So when you see people commenting on like 5 tips of planner or 5 tips of Teams or whatever, add in and say, wait a minute here, you forgot the most important one, because people and recruiters will look at this and they'll start saying, oh, well, you actually know your stuff. And likewise, if you start talking to a prospect, the first destination they look at for you is LinkedIn. So if they realize that you're a very active, very passionate person with SharePoint, because remember, everyone's a so-called expert. They're going to see, yeah, this guy knows his stuff. Okay. Now use LinkedIn to get a blog and link to your LinkedIn. So on my blog, I used to have a LinkedIn about me, and with the about me, I used to go straight into LinkedIn. The advantage of that is I could see who was looking on my website. So if I talk to somebody at a bank and I realize they're looking at my blog, I can then start seeing, okay, they've actually looked at my LinkedIn, so they've actually responded to me. Okay, and maybe I can follow up on that. Okay, get business cards with your name on it. I'll show you some examples of what I did. Okay, again, with your name and your skill and your phone number. Okay, and say, oh, if you're New York based or wherever you are based, so people know that you're local. Generally, people like to do business with people who are local. I know this is COVID now, but in terms of, there's something to be said about, oh, this person can get to the office in an hour. Okay. And then spend as little money on the basics as possible. There's no reason why you need SEO if you're a contractor. Okay, and that's insane because you're not going to compete with the big companies. Soho, we are spending probably about, I would say $30,000 just on SEO alone. Okay, as a contractor, you're not going to do that. Okay, on that with the Google ads and everything. So again, there's not much point doing, and then the other problem is when you're using like Google Ads and everything, you get these leads, and it costs, it's almost like a part-time job to follow up on the leads, of which most of them are complete bogus, and so at the end of the day, you don't need serious marketing money, right? Okay, don't brand yourself out of the company, as I said. Okay, remember, you've only got one pair of hands, so therefore, a big company is not going to give you sort of like, if you're Goldman Sachs, they're not going to give you the project to upgrade their SharePoint environment into the cloud. They're going to give that to a big consulting firm. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Like, and also you don't want a project like that because you won't be able to scale, you won't be able to do with it, and also your chances are the payment terms of that won't be in your favor because it'll be like net 45, and you need to pay yourself. And and it'll be delays and everything. It'll be just too much of a nightmare of a project for you to manage. This is my original business card in SharePoint 2010. Okay, this is straight after Vistaprint. Okay, it had my name, phone number, and it had exactly all the skills that I have. K2, SharePoint Designer, Training, Knowledge Lake, InfoPath. Okay, in fact, we upgraded it when we had a company. Okay, it's going to be quite cool actually. So we made the business card look like a Google search. Okay, so therefore, because we didn't really have a strong brand at the time. Okay, and so every time you hand that to anybody, they always looked at it 2 or 3 times and they said, what's going on here? And they said, that's a really cool business card on that. Okay, this is one of the best business cards I have seen. Me at the website, Instagram, and that's the email. Very simple. This is good, but it doesn't actually tell you what the person does. so just be in mind with these creative things. Okay, LinkedIn profiles. Let's talk about that. Okay, so this is my LinkedIn profile. So this is important because recruiters and hiring managers look at this and they search. So they want to search on skill sets. So in that job title, you should mention about like what your role is: solution architect, Microsoft tech talent. So that's basically saying everything that what you do, okay, and what you can provide, what your skills are, and what you can provide. Okay, this is my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so just take a minute to just look at this and read through it. Okay, so let's just go through this a little bit on this. So firstly, it's got the about stuff, what I can do for you. So if I was to color code this, okay, everything in green is who you help. This is who I help. Everything in yellow is how you do it. This is my secret sauce in blue. Quantitative business results you can expect. So this is exactly what we looked at. So this is who I help. We're located next to the stock market. Okay. A little bit of humor there. Big, small financial firms. And this is not my contracting profile. This is Soho Dragon. But again, you can take the same concept and apply that to your skills. Okay, so who I help is right there. Financial organizations. That's what we in the tri-state area. We particularly focus on the financial vertical. Okay, how I do it. We're focused. I prefer to take the lead on these things. That's how I do it. Okay, and this is my secret sauce. I'm old school. I like projects delivered on time, on budget. I'm a trainer, motivator. I've authored the books. Staying on the leading edge. Good at thinking on my feet, complex situations. I find myself able to get to the heart of the issue whilst not ruffling too many feathers. That's the secret sauce. Okay, and then the quantitative business results. That's probably in another part. That's in the experience section, quantitative business results. Microsoft, often that's what we do. We help design and deploy great business productivity drivers. the enormous savings. That's the results. We take advantage of the platform we have to offer, and that's the real reward. And again, this is how we do it. Scoping, security, custom development. These are the skills. Okay, any questions on what we've just on this LinkedIn profile and how it's structured? So it's not just a bunch of words. It's not quite a resume. You can see if you're going to do a LinkedIn profile, a good LinkedIn profile needs these 4 categories. So I would suggest anyone who's going to go contracting should print out their LinkedIn and say, right, what are the 4? Who do they help? How do they do it? What's the secret sauce? And the quantity of business results they should expect. If anyone wants to throw their LinkedIn profile into the chat, we can look at that right now if you want. Okay. Right, contracting. This is the good, the pay, expense, the benefits, and the flexibility. As any good contractor to know, you basically put all your expenses through the business as you possibly can. Okay, and again, as we know, the pay is good. Okay, and there's flexibility as well on that. The bad, okay, a lot of it's on delivery. Okay, and that's the only thing that's really important. So at the end of the day, with a client, anyone they're hiring you is because they don't have the skills internally to do it. Okay, so it means you need to be much better than them. So a lot of it's on the payments are going to be on delivery, on a timesheet, so it needs to be approved. Okay, so any company has the ability to hold back a payment. Okay, with a W2 employee, you've got to pay the salary whether the guy does the work or not. It's actually illegal to do that. With a contractor, we've done this. If we've agreed on the fixed cost delivery and it hasn't been delivered, well, we hold back on the payment. Okay, and that's the terms of the that's the terms of the agreement. Okay, you can't do that with a W2. Okay, so therefore you have to deliver on that. Okay, with W2 contracting, W2 contracting is where basically a recruiter has basically got like a 6-month gig and they want you to basically work for them as a W2, but it's really a contracting. There's no training. You can't put the expenses through. The moment that contract ends or that W2, the gig ends as well. Okay, and there's no corporate culture because you're basically you're placed on the client side. Okay, that is the worst of both worlds. You have no job security. You can't like getting the same pay as a salary, but you're actually not getting the benefits of contracting or the benefits of a W2 employee. Okay, because the customer will view you as a contractor as well. So you've got the worst of both worlds. Okay, employee classification problems. This is where you get the worst of both worlds, where you're really being placed on a site for the client, and you're really a W2. You're basically part of you're doing a 12-month gig or whatever, but you're just doing it right there. So if the IRS sees this and say, wait a minute here, you're really a W2 here because you're working on it. When we've had HR issues at Soho Dragon, sometimes we've had a contractor who's claimed unemployment benefit, and we will and there's 3 questions that you need that gets asked if you have a situation like that. Is that firstly, did the person work on their own equipment? Okay, did they work on their schedule, and did they have a supervisor? Okay, so quite often, if you're like a W2 employee and you're working on the client side, you're working on the client's equipment. Okay, the same as the employee's equipment. Chances are your schedule is 9 to 5. Okay, so therefore you don't control your schedule, and you probably have a supervisor. And even though they might use the words as hiring manager, okay, hiring manager, they're really your supervisor. So if the IRS realize this and say, wait a minute here, you're basically a full-time person working on this site, you might have a tax issue. Okay, so you have a classification problem on that. Any questions on that point? David, do you have your own company, or are you or do you generally go 1099?
I've formed several of my own companies, and they're quite surprisingly easy to form. I've tried the trick of doing it in Delaware, but it turned out to be a dumb idea.
Yeah,
So I formed my company in my own state of Maryland, and it's just there. I mean, really, it's about $100 and 10 minutes work of clicking on the
yeah,
keyboard, and you're done.
yeah.
And I agree with everything you say about W-2 contracting. It is the worst of both worlds. The one small advantage is that they pay 8% of your Social Security tax. That's the only advantage. Oh,
Mhm.
and they also tend to pay you more regularly than if you were C2C.
Well, that's probably because it's not delivery based. It's generally you're doing your timesheet every week. The recruitment company basically does the recruitment company basically invoices them every month. You invoice the recruitment company, and 30 days later you get the bill. You get
Or 45, but yeah,
yeah,
it's exhausting.
okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's how it is. Okay. Also, like a company like us, we would never if we have a project and we need to have somebody for like a 12 months, like if we were going to hire you, David, for a 12-month gig, we would never hire you as a 1099. Okay, we would always hire you as a company. Okay, because if it goes to, and this is something you just want, this is why quite often with bigger companies, they will ask, are you an individual or are you a company? Okay, and the reason why is because if it's a payment issue, okay, and it goes to a court, particularly in New York, they see, oh my word, you've got a big bad corporation behaving badly, and you're a little guy. Okay, well, if you're a company, okay, well, then that conversation doesn't necessarily occur. Okay, and so when it comes to the courts will actually look at this more objectively to say, okay, what's our delivery of services, okay, to the company. Well, if it's more of an individual, they'll say this individual needs to be paid. Okay, that doesn't. I know that's not fair, but that's generally how the court system works. On that. Also, unemployment as well, where that is why in terms of if you work for us and then after the gig you have to claim unemployment, okay, I would then say, okay, well, hang on, you actually didn't work for us, you worked for your contracting company, okay, and you were on your payroll there. They should be paying your unemployment, not us. While if it's a 1099, a guy comes straight in, he will suddenly say those questions about, okay, does he have his own equipment? Where did he work? Did he work in his office or your office? Suddenly they'll say, oh, he was actually an employee. Or even though the contract says this is a 1099, he will say, I thought I was an employee. I was classed as an employee. And you good luck with that. You don't want to have that. Once things go to court, you just have problems. So we've never had that, but this is what we've been advised. So it's risk mitigation. Okay, other things as well. It's like things can stop very, very quickly on that. And also you obviously sometimes don't know the conversations going on because that recruiting firm will have an account manager managing the account, and they're not always going to be totally straight with you because they've got their quota to fill rather than basically your best interests. Right, contracting. Okay, the ugly part as well. Okay, payment issues. As I talked, so the master payments. What you want to make sure in your contract, you should not be basically you get paid when the recruiter gets paid. Okay, because then their issue becomes your issue. Right, so you should read that and that should be crossed out. Okay, and you said no, that doesn't work for me. Okay, because if you do that, then you're going to have payment. Because you might find that. You might find that they don't pay, the company isn't paying the recruiter because of other reasons, which have got nothing to do with you. Okay, and also it reminds me there could be constant follow-up with invoicing, so you need to make that very clear. The invoices are net 30, and you pay me on net 30. I submit my invoice. I do my timesheets weekly. I will submit the invoices net 30. Okay, and I get paid net 30, not when you get paid. Okay, I've had that problem. That was a mistake. That's a rookie mistake of contracting. Right, what skills do you need? You got to look the part. Okay, we're all technology companies, and trust me, it doesn't go unnoticed when somebody turns up with a beat up piece of crap of a laptop. Okay, and you're thinking like you're supposed to be a senior SharePoint architect. So you've got to look the part as well. So getting the job right. This is what you think. You sort of like think you're the client here, and then you're Mr. Contractor here.
Peter, could I ask a question?
Yes. Who's this?
Carlos.
Okay, Carlos. Yes.
So I had a question as far as like the employee classification. So I know you mentioned, it seems like you mentioned that it's best to be corporate or as treated as a company versus as an individual.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And I guess that's also better, I guess, as far as like a tax breakdown as well. Like, I guess, and that, is that applicable here?
Yeah, I'm not an accountant, so
Okay.
well, yes, because you can then put your children and your well, okay. I got to be a bit careful here what I'm saying. Okay,
Right.
Then perhaps you could put your wife on the payroll because I'm sure she contributes a lot to the payroll, and then you've got your teenage children who are in college, who I'm sure they do an amazing job for the company. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Right. Okay. On that. Again, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to sort of like get on that. But yes, if you do that on that. Okay. So this is what you think. You got the client, and then you got yourself. Okay. This is okay. In reality, this is what's going on. Okay. In between the client, you got the recruiter, and then you've got you. But you actually that's what you come to realize. And then you realize there's actually an outside recruiter involved. Okay. And then you might even realize there's a Microsoft partner involved. Okay. So you've got 3 levels here before you actually before you actually speaking to the person. So this is why quite often when you deal with recruiters, they just don't get back to you at all, is because they're going through all the layers. So what happens, what quite often happens is you've got the client and then working with, say, the Microsoft partner wins the gig, I don't know, at Goldman Sachs or wherever. Okay, they get the big project. They need to get a recruiter because they need to hire fast because everyone wants the project to start tomorrow. Okay, that recruiter can't necessarily find the positions correctly, so they're working with 5 or 6 outside recruiters as well because they need to get that to get to the partner together. So you can see each one of these people are taking a cut out of your hard-earned salary hourly rate. So if you're billing at a rate, they're probably marking up, they're marking up straight to the client. This is kind of like why has anyone ever experienced this when I talk to recruiters and they kind of like they don't really know what they do, they don't really have the answers, or they're very disjointed and they just don't get back to you. It's because they're trying to work through the layers. This guy can't get the answers from this guy because he's got to go through all of these people. Okay, so that's the reality. So let's just talk about recruiters. Right, you've got the contingent recruitment companies. These are people like Michael Page, Robert Half types. Okay, these guys are working on a contingent basis, so not paid up front. So you've got the company, and they say, right, like what we're trying to find a SharePoint gig for 6 months. Can you help? Okay, and then they're the people. They're working basically commission only. Okay, or they're not being, or they're paid very little, but there's no, the company's not paying for them. Not paid for their services up front. Okay, they're generally much more of a churn and burn environment, and the recruiter is generally working on 15 positions at once, which is why it's all smiles, and for those guys, it's all smiles and dials. And so a recruiter, one of the reasons why if you get rejected, okay, the recruiter doesn't get back to you because they don't have time to get back to you. And they're not going to get confident to get back to you. So, and I experienced this myself, that you go for the interview, and it's incredibly frustrating as well. You go for the interview, you might have the second interview, and they're interviewing 4 or 5 people, and then you don't hear anything, and the recruiter says, well, I don't know, I didn't get the answer. What the recruiter is saying is that basically he doesn't want to get into a conversation with you to say, well, I didn't think you're qualified enough. And then it's like not a 30-second conversation. It's more of a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation. And then the candidate sends an email saying, well, I actually think you should consider X, Y, and Z. Okay, the recruiter has already moved on. They don't have time for a conversation with you. This is how quick and fast moving it is. Okay. So the minute you are no longer a fit for their immediate needs, you're on the back burner. Okay, so this is why, you know, when you're submitting your resume, when you get the recruiter and the recruiter saying, oh my God, you're a great fit, this is really good, you know, I'm really excited. That's a word you hear a lot. Okay, and they send the resume and you don't hear anything from the recruiter and you wonder what's going on here. They said that was a good fit and everything. That's because you've been rejected and the recruiter is trying to find other people to fill that role. So these are the jobs you see advertised all on the job boards, and they charge about 15 to 25% of the commissions. Right, okay, and then you've got recruitment process outsourcing. Okay, and they're basically acted like internal recruitment functions for these companies, and their fees are variable. But when you look at the name, like Platoon, Manpower, they are full on the company. So they would probably say control all of the IT department. Okay, and that's part of their contract. So the IT department in that company will not be allowed to use other recruiters. Okay, because that's not, it's because they'll be in breach of the contract with these companies. Okay, so therefore you might have a friend who works for a bank and he goes, oh yeah, in IT they need a SharePoint developer. Okay, and then or even you might even know the hiring man, the IT director there. His hands will be held back because by contractually he would have to go through these people. So you can't get around these people. Okay. So David, you've written things you can write off: car lease, mileage, automatically cell phones. You can tell you're a pro at this, can't you? Okay, laptops, cable, internet, home internet. Yep, all good. 50% of client. Now, working at home in the office, I think you need a wall for that, don't you? I believe. You need a physical divider. These are the questions you want to ask for your accounting. So I remember when I first started contracting with my accountant, and if you need a recommendation of an accountant, I can recommend the one I use. He was he's a boring guy, you know, no fancy stuff at all. And the first year I did all this, you know, he almost like fell off his chair. Said, no, you can't write it off. No, absolutely not. Netflix, no. Okay, it was almost like, you know, everything I was consuming was basically an expense. He goes, no, this is just too many not red flags. These are sort of like smoke bombs you're sending off here to the IRS. So he got me. So the second year it was like smooth sailing on that.
Cool.
Right, okay. So that's basically, that's the recruitment process. That's where it's difficult to get past the recruitment process. So this is the recruiters. Notice the green dot. Okay, right. Jobs that are advertised jobs are advertised that just don't exist. So what often happens with recruiters is that they're basically collecting resumes, resume banking, and they will submit over to 3 top resumes over to say a client who's not even looking for work, who's not even looking to hire anybody. So say, oh, I know you have SharePoint. Okay, if you need SharePoint developers, these are the people in our database. Okay, on there. So even though that recruiter has spoken to you and you said, oh yeah, this is all good, the job might not exist. So you need to ask that recruiter, does that actually job exist? Okay, that's a really bad practice, but recruiters will do that because they're resume banking. Okay, the recruiter is not technical. Okay, that's a huge misunderstanding. Like, how many you speak to these recruiters and they've got no clue, you know, saying, oh, we need a cloud architect who knows how to deploy WSPs. Okay, what's wrong with that sentence? That's a quiz. That's my question to you. Who can answer that question? Who can answer that? That's my.
You can't deploy WSPs to the cloud. That's on-prem.
Exactly. Very, very cool, Carl. Yeah, there's no such thing as a WSP in the cloud. Okay, but that's the whole thing. So what often happens with don't send your job without seeing the description. So what often happens is the client as well. Okay, the hiring manager at the back at the organization. Okay, he's probably merged 3 job specs together, or they've gone to HR to say, I need a solution architect for SharePoint. That HR person doesn't really know what they basically merged 3 job specs and they sent it to the recruiter. And then you speak to the recruiter and they say they're looking for a brander, SharePoint architect, Azure migration person, and a senior Angular developer. Okay, that's like 4 jobs in one. Okay, and you say this makes no sense. And the recruiter would say, and the person needs to be an expert in Java. and the recruiter says that's what they want, and someone's like, and it's something because the recruiter doesn't know any better. Okay, and of course the recruiter is probably someone in their 20s, fresh out of college. Okay, they're not, they're still figuring out the landscape. Maybe they're still adulting. I don't know, but they're not going to necessarily speak to the hiring manager. Or the client who's probably got 25-year experience, who's like, and tell him how to do his job. Okay, so just remember that recruiter is not technical. Okay, and so the recruiter will look at the resume, look at the buzzwords, and say, oh yeah, this your resume must need to match this. Okay, this is where your job requirements are a little bit wacky. Okay, and often they have to send over 3 resumes. So what a lot of recruiters would say to the client, okay, you got a job spec, we'll fill it by the end of the week, we'll send 3 screened resumes over, and then it's all systems go, and they just need to get 3 resumes to get over to them. Okay, that is why hiring managers, clients don't like certain recruiters, because they just throw a resume bomb them with stuff. They say this makes no sense. Right, rate negotiation. Right, okay, always ask for the rate first. Okay, so the recruiter was like, so well, what is it? Always ask for that first. And if the recruiter says, well, we haven't discussed this, okay, come on, then the response should be, well, so let me get this totally clear. You're hiring for this job. Wouldn't that have been your first question, your first or second question to ask about what the rate is? And they say, well, they don't know. So therefore, just bear that in mind. Right. This is Nigel Frank's speciality. Okay. And so what happens with recruiters, they're getting compensated as a percentage on the profit on the hourly rate. So you're going to get the job. Okay, you've got the job, you've got that, and then they say, oh yeah, they really like you, but they didn't really think you were an Azure experienced person. So they're not going to pay you this. They just want to have like 10% less. That is a complete lie. That's a total lie. That's what the recruiter's doing to beef up their profit margin. So basically, this is what you do. Okay, as I pointed out previously, the recruiter doesn't always have a relationship with the client. So you want to ask them, who was that person who says that? All right, okay. Well, can you just put that in an email, just for my recommendations? Just put that in an email, and so you've got it in writing. And who was that person who asked that? Okay, and I'm going to come on to this way of doing this. I actually got a recruiter fired for this as well. Okay, the cards are stacked in your favor. You already had the interview with the person and they want to hire you. That recruiter is not going to, will not basically pull out, okay, to say because of that 5% on that. Okay, so this is how you get around the recruiter. Okay, in the interview, okay, you bring your resume. Okay, and the reason why you bring your resume, because quite often the recruiter has sexed up your resume to meet the job spec. I've been in meetings and they say, and I've shown them the resume, and it's been totally different. It's totally different to what was submitted to them. And so I said, well, I don't know. This is what I said to the recruiter. So suddenly that hiring manager is seeing you being the source of the truth, not the recruiter. Also, that resume has got your phone number and your email. Okay. Also bring your business cards, because if you give a business card to somebody, they give you your business card. So you've got their contact information as well. Okay, and then when you get that emails from the recruiter to say, oh, by the way, this recruiter was this person was a little bit, the hiring manager said that the rate, you don't really have the experience. Say back to the recruiter, that's interesting. I find that a little bit surprising. I've got the person's details, email and address. Do you mind if we just all get on an email exchange, and do you mind if I forward this email to the hiring manager? Okay, and we can discuss the rates. Because I think that will bring closure to this issue. Okay, because I think we all want to get the job and get this business resolved. Every time I've done that, I've had that recruiter call me back within 30 seconds. Okay, funny that, isn't it? You don't often get recruiters calling you back that quickly, and they say, well, there might be a misunderstanding on this. So that's the game they're playing on this. Okay, so that's why you need to confirm the relationship, because the recruiter may not have even met the person you actually have on the face-to-face meeting. Okay, clarify the job responsibilities. Okay, now if you don't get the business card off the person in the meeting, get it off the receptionist at the end of it afterwards. Okay. On that, maybe the person's walked you out. I just want to go to the bathroom, but let's just say goodbye now. Okay. You come out the bathroom and you can say to the receptionist, that was Joe Smith. Do you have his email address? I think I just need it for my meeting notes. And then that's how you can get the person's email. Any questions so far? Nigel Frank is a mess. Okay, yep. Okay, there's about 100 kids in the big room. Yes, Nigel Frank is very much of a boiler room, like forwards. Each recruiter lasts a few weeks. Pick it up. Yep. Okay, recruiters do not care about you or look out for your interests. It's totally fake. Yep, that's totally true on that. Yep. Okay. But in their defense, it's very much of a contractual relationship. Okay, just as when the plumber turns up to fix your sink, you don't really necessarily, I'm not saying I'm not nice, but I'm not too interested in the fact he's got problems parking, or he's got a bad back. He's fixing my sink for an hour. I pay him the money and he goes. Okay, that's the relationship of what it is. So, but saying that though, that's the relationship which everyone expects. When recruiters are saying, "Oh, we care," it's all one big happy family. That's not the case. All right. Okay. Not just being good, but being great. Okay. So this is the whole thing. Like, remember, they're hiring you as a contractor, which is more expensive than an employee. So if you've got certain tools which are good, then it makes you look good. Okay. Who uses Snagit? Anyone use Snagit? Who's not heard of Snagit?
I haven't heard of Snagit. What's Snagit?
You've never heard of Snagit?
No, I've heard of Grammarly.
Okay, so Snagit is basically, it's like snipping. Okay, you know snipping?
Okay. I'm using snipping right now. So
okay, so that's
the Microsoft one.
Okay, but where Snagit is particularly good, okay, is so what Snagit can do. Okay, I can do a screen capture. So I've got another monitor, okay. I'm going to do a screen capture like this. It brings it in. Okay, so this is a screen capture, and then I can put arrows into this. Wrong version. So it allows you to do image upgrade, and also you can do a share. If I do a share, I can paste that. I'm pasting it actually into the chat. You can paste it into the Teams chat directly. So it makes your communication much better with the person. So if you're doing testing or whatever, and suddenly you start doing this, it makes you look a lot better with, it's like people want to work with you. Okay, you can also do videos as well. Okay, so what else did I was showing you? Okay, who's heard of Vidyard? Has anyone heard of Vidyard? Okay, is that a no? Okay, Vidyard. Does everyone see my browser?
Yep, sure do.
Okay, so what Vidyard is Vidyard is a video recording where you can record the screen and you can talk through it. Okay, so this is, and then basically this is what I do. Let's have a look at this. I'm just trying to get to the page, order library. Actually, let me just do it right now. So here I'm going to record the screen. Okay. I'm not sure if I did it on recording the audio. Right, this is this screen here. This foot map is actually wrong. These desks are actually out of place, and that's about it. Okay, so I hit stop. So it's a recording, but it saves it up here. Okay, and then I can like say floor plan not correct. See video. Okay, and then I'll just put the URL in there right now. Okay, so basically it's a little bit like Snagit, okay, but you quite often you realize there's a lot of back and particularly when you're working in time zones, there's a lot of back and forth. So, oh, we need a meeting. What I actually often do is I will do the 5-minute recording, say, look, this doesn't work. Okay, this is the steps that I'm doing, and it doesn't work because of X, Y, and Z. This is what you need to look at, and I'll send them the video. So basically, it allows that teamwork and that collaboration much quicker. And the wheels are oiled better. So these are the little tools that really make you kind of like really good. Grammarly, everyone's heard of Grammarly. Is basically it checks your grammar and your spelling in Word and emails. You know, I've got pretty good English. You know, I went to university, but it picks up quite a lot of good things as well, and it just makes you look a lot more professional. On that, and again, like Vidyard is $15 a month. Okay, Grammarly, I think it's like 120 a year. Snagit is about $40 a year. But these are the tools that just make you. It gives you a bit of polish in the way you work. And I'm always a bit surprised that, you know, we all know the rates that contractors earn, but sometimes you get a contractor say, well, can you buy my Excel license for 2 months? You know, someone's like, I know, or they don't have a video conferencing bridge number. And I can't, it just makes them look like they're just amateur contractors. By just having these kind of tools, it just raises your game, and in a big way. On that, you know, that's what I would just say. This just makes you just look a lot better in your job, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I know that because I hire these contractors, and I see this. Harvest is for your timesheets. Contractors use Excel, and that's all very well, but you know, you want to have something a bit professional, because this also tracks your time as well, by the hour, so you can do it line items. So and it's also on your phone, and it sends the invoices as well. So by doing this, it's like you'll be surprised at how much time it catches you, and which you can of course bill to the client. Perception is key. On meetings, be on time with conference calls. Okay, that does my head in when people are just endlessly late for stuff. Okay, I'm on there. And also sometimes with contractors, they sort of take on too much work, and it's almost a bit like, well, I've got another client. Okay, I don't care. You're my client. Okay, this is New York City. Okay, I need to be special. Okay, I don't care about your other clients. I really care about this project. Okay, so that doesn't cut it. Okay, ship dates, you know, I ship my code FedEx overnight. Okay, so that means you might be working late, but people like that. If you can it's turnarounds. Okay, other little things. When we're in the office, get to the office early. Okay, even if you get to the office and you're reading the newspaper, people notice that. I've had that feedback a lot. I get to the office at 8 o'clock, you know, and I would be doing work, sending the emails. It makes it look like firstly, it makes you look like you're better than everybody else. You can get work done, but it doesn't go unnoticed. Okay, top tip here. This book here, Read Work. This is really, if you're looking at contracting and building up a small company, this is a great book on how to do it. Green Dot as well. Okay, how to juggle multiple projects. Try to work at home on Fridays, always. We're doing that all the time now. 40 hours, okay. Try and do that, or try and do the 40 hours over 4 days. And that's, so you've got a day to do calls and other stuff and build up your book of business. Where to find the gigs, meetups, the IMCP, other SharePoint partners, or the Microsoft Partner Network. They're good stomping grounds, which I found. Okay, this is part of the presentation where you all cheer and clap. Final tip on the evaluation, I suggest you fill out the column on the right-hand side.
Hey, Peter, one last question. How do we figure
Yes.
out bill rates? Because we know that that our services are ultimately being billed out to the client for a very high rate, and yet it seems like, you know, figuring out a bill rate is challenging.
Well, here's the thing. You know the recruiter. The fact that you've got to go through a recruiter, he's got to take his cut. He's got to make money. He's got to feed himself. Okay, so that's the best way to do your to do your bill rates, okay, is to is at the source of the client. The other thing you can do, okay, if they say, well, we get paid when you get paid or whatever, or you say, well, it's net 45, we'll say, wait a minute here, I generally deal with net 30. If you do net 45, I want an extra $5 an hour.
Okay.
Okay. Does that answer? Does that make sense?
It does, but it's just tricky to, you know, our typical bill rates, $100, 110, 125, 80, 70, 60,
yeah,
what?
It depends on the client and what they've got.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I can say. That's why I say using ask what's their rate. Okay. You know what you're worth. Okay. You know what you typically bill out at. Okay. And you know, and if it's like if it's a senior developer and they're paying like a junior rate, chances are it's not that much. And also, again, if you've been on the bench for like 2 months, you might say, look, I have no choice here. So it depends on that. Or if you've got other gigs in the works.
Okay.
That's what I'd say. Right. This is the evaluation form. That's what you want to be doing. I suggest you use the column on the right. If I ask for comments, mention things like, I could have invented SharePoint. This was Steve Jobs presenting. You were in the presence of the Pope. That's good comments, feedback on that. No, joking aside, okay, I run the SharePoint a Teams meetup every month. Teams Tuesday. Any questions?
Peter, I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, I had a question I put in the chat that.
Okay. I always tell my subcontractors to budget to be billable 32 hours. It just leaves a day for sales and marketing and dentists. Well, that's kind of like what I was. Is that a question or a statement?
Oh, that's not my question. My question came up.
That's a statement.
Okay.
My question is a little bit further up. It's about pretty much the transition from like a W-2 to like a stopgap. I don't know if the book you recommend kind of covers that, but any recommendations you had as far as like transitioning from a W-2 job into like a stopgap jobs or like even to be in professional contracting.
The best thing is to go from a W-2 to a contractor job, which is basically like a 6-month gig.
Right. Okay,
full time. Okay, and then again, in terms of sales and marketing, just don't watch a little bit less telly in the evening and get up an hour early. That's all. A contractor, you shouldn't be doing a lot of sales and marketing. Okay, because it's the follow up and everything. Okay, that's where you have a company, and that's where you need. This is what I said at the very beginning. I'm really talking about company as a contractor. Okay, to scale, just when you start scaling, it's a very different skill.
And then the recommendations I think you said to look at were, I think you had a slide on it. It was the Microsoft Partner Network, the meetups, and then I think there was a third one you had.
Yeah, it was IMCP, which is it's like International Microsoft Channel Partners.
Yeah. One comment about billing rate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Yeah, fellow was asking about billing rate. I mean, you got to kind of understand, what the market rate is. But just an example, I'd usually throw something out like, I bill $125 an hour, and see if they flinch. And if they do flinch, then I normally follow that with, but if you can commit to 40 hours a week, I can do it for $100 an hour. That way you get a commitment out of them. Yeah,
you're getting more out of it. Okay. The other thing as well, when we've done a little bit of hiring for New York the rates would be higher, but now it's across the country. So when someone says, "Oh yeah, but I live in New York," it's almost like, well, what's your point here? I can compete with someone. You're competing with someone in Arkansas.